Hello, and welcome to my animated podcast. I'm thrilled to have you joined us today as we explore one of the most iconic and thought-provoking stories of all time, Frankenstein or the modern Prometheus. A tale of ambition, creation, and the devastating consequences of overreaching. You've likely heard of the monster, but have you really delved into the story behind him and the mind of the creator who brought him to life? The story of Victor Frankenstein is far more than just a horror tale. It's a profound exploration of science, morality, and the human desire for control. In today's episode, we break it all down for you. We start with a quick recap of the plot, then dive deep into the major themes and ideas that make this novel so compelling and relevant even today. And of course, I won't be tackling this journey alone. Later, I'll be joined by Jeanne to discuss her insights, and we've even got a special guest lined up who is ready to share their perspective on the philosophical aspects of the novel. So, grab your books and let's get started. Alright, before we start, there will be spoilers, but honestly, we need to cover these details if we're going to have a discussion about it. So, bear with us. Victor Frankenstein grew up in a loving family with his parents, two brothers, William and Ernest, and his sister, Elizabeth, to whom he was deeply attached. His early life was filled with privilege and comfort, but soon tragedy struck when his mother passed away. This loss had a profound impact on him, fueling his obsession with conquering death and finding a way to overcome it. Victor was always driven by a thirst for knowledge. This passion led him to study in Ingolstadt, where he became consumed with the idea of creating life itself. After years of work, Victor succeeded in bringing a creature to life from body parts he had gathered. However, his victory quickly turned to horror when he saw the being he had created. A grotesque, terrifying figure, horrified by his own creation, he abandoned it, which set off a tragic chain of events. Soon after, Victor's younger brother William is murdered, and though he suspects the creature is responsible, his fears begin to spiral. The creature, rejected and alone, confronts Victor, revealing the pain and suffering it had endured. In an attempt to seek redemption and companionship, the creature demands that Victor create a female counterpart for it. Reluctantly, Victor agrees and begins working on a new being. But as Victor continues, he begins to fear the consequences of such an act. What if the two creatures united become even more dangerous? Fearing for humanity, he destroys his work, enraging the creature. In retaliation, the creature murders Victor's closest friend, Henry Clervaux, and later his beloved Elizabeth. Devastated and consumed with guilt, Victor chases the creature across Europe. Desperate for revenge, this pursuit leads him all the way to the Arctic, where, in the end, both creator and creature are lost in the depth of their obsessive desires, sealed by tragedy and death. So, now that we've got the story covered, let's jump right into our discussion. There's a lot to unpack, so let's get started. Hello and welcome, Jeanne. Thank you very much for being here.
Hi.
Go, please sit down. So,
Sure.
we are today here to talk about Frankenstein or the modern Prometheus. I have come up with the question, how does the novel contribute to society discourse on crime and punishment? In my personal opinion, we have like this very big criticism from the book to the society in regards of we have a person, a creature in our case, that looks very strange. Like imagine you wake up one day and go outside and you see just a giant 7 foot figure. You would also think it's weird, isn't it?
I would mostly think it's unfamiliar because I'm not used to seeing 7 foot people walking around. And also, the creature is mostly described as, well, rather ugly from
Yes.
my point of view. So, yes, it is unfamiliar and it is strange to most people, which I think also is really shown in how they perceive him, how they act around him. Because for one, most villagers like always treat him with hatred. They chase him away. They throw stuff at him. But I think the most difference can be seen with how he acts with the old blind man, the Lacey. You know?
Exactly, and this is just like what I meant with like the regards to society, because this is exactly the point. We have a person who is at the beginning rather kind, like we hear his story, like trying to be a kind person, also saying from himself being kind-hearted, and when the blind man like only hears him and doesn't see him, he is just like a normal person to him. And what I think is like the contribution to society is like this criticism that we judge way too much from the looks of things. Just we can also just like kind of put it to racism, because a lot of racism is like only because how you look or even where you come from, which can you also just like go back to like the creature is made up from a crazy in a quotation scientist.
Well, I wouldn't call him crazy. I would just call him a 20-year-old with a weird obsession. But
Yeah.
it is that I would also say it's more of a metaphor for racism these days, because it is just the creature is super kind, and it's also described as very kind. He talks about himself and how he sees the world when he's first in the woods and talks about what he discovers and all that.
Definitely.
He is a very kind soul, and when he talks, he is like trying actively to be nice and to be loved, essentially. But it is just that in the novel, it doesn't matter what he what he is, who he is, how nice he is. It's just like the appearance, and that is, for me at least, the metaphor for racism, because not just racism, it's also like just being judged on appearance and all.
In general.
Yeah, also, it's a bit of modern dating with dating apps and all that you can like swipe on people's looks, you know?
That's a very good point. Yeah, I see that.
All of dating apps are just, you see someone's face, and if you like what you see, you just swipe on them. You know, it's like very basic, and no one gives a shit anymore. Sorry, can I swear here? I hope I can.
I think.
Yeah, perfect.
Go ahead.
Like no one gives a shit what others are, how they talk. It's just, oh, he looks good. He'd look good at my side, so I'm gonna date him. You know?
Totally with you. And it's so interesting that like this novel,
Yeah.
so old, is still having like an impact on today. It has a reason why it's like a classic. Like we read it in school. It's so important and has so much impact. Like the criticism can be put on so many different things. What I also think is, like, we have this creature who is in the beginning very kind, but he becomes evil because he is treated as an evil person. Like, this is also kind of criticism. Bad people don't have to be bad like from the beginning. May they become bad because they are treated as one.
There is one quote actually by C.J. Roberts that I saw earlier today, which is, a monster is not born, it is made.
Yes.
Which is like the perfect analogy for Frankenstein.
It fits because the creature's like also made.
He's literally made. But it's mostly like he wasn't a monster when he was created by Victor.
Yes.
Victor created him to be like human as possible, to be kind, and he did try to like get Victor to like him. That failed miserably. But then he always had the goal in mind to be a kind soul, to be kind to everyone. But since everyone treated him like shit, he became more evil and more aggressive, because he, like, in his mind it was like, oh, I'm not being treated nicely. Why should I treat them nicely? They didn't deserve that. You know?
Totally. This is also like, again, we have this criticism. The book has so much impact and so much like good morals it gives to the world. Like with this little, it's like so old and it still continues today. Like the problems we had like in the 17 and 1800s, it still is today. Like the criticism couldn't be applied today.
If it had ended.
Yes.
if it's like
totally.
the problem had been solved, we wouldn't have that.
And
Like,
it's so sad it isn't. Like we really have this
yeah,
so yeah, maybe he's ugly, maybe he's a bit weirdly shaped, weird color, but he isn't bad. And people are like they treat him at when they first see him, they treat him like he already killed like half a town. But he didn't. He's only like sometimes I think he's just like a small child, you know? He's so
yeah, he
innocent and
is.
so on. Yeah.
But mostly it's also because he has never learned anything from anyone.
Mm,
When he first met his own creator, who he thought, oh, I can trust him because he made me. Said guy ran away screaming.
yes.
So I would say also because he doesn't know anything, he is mostly like a child, and because he is a child, I think his parent in quotation, so
Yeah.
Victor, should also have given him some guidance of some kind, because he just tries to understand the world. He's trying
Yes.
to be alive, and everyone else is treating him like you said, like he murdered already like a dozen people. So yeah, I think it's just his looks alone shouldn't be something that others find
Yes.
repulsive, because well, yeah, he is ugly. I'm sorry. He is like, if his own creator calls him a wrench every 2 pages,
Yeah.
he has to be at least to some degree really ugly.
Definitely.
But it's still it's too much. Treating him this bad is too much. He
Yeah.
hasn't done anything.
I'm totally with you. So, just to conclude, the book is really impactful. It has a lot of criticism. What the book does for society is just like criticizing the way we interact with each other and the way we have so much prejudice. And this is just like a very big contribution, in my opinion, to the society. So, Jeanne, thank you very much that you
You're
were here
welcome.
with me today with your so good thoughts about this. Thank you.
No problem.
So, with that covered, we are coming to our special guest. So, hello Yusuf, and thank you very much for being part of this.
Thanks, Farek. You're welcome. Now, we will evaluate the story of Frankenstein and its ethical background, I suppose. Is it right?
Definitely. So, I have come up with the question, what makes the crimes of the novel so fascinating? Well, we have like the 3 crimes committed by the creature against William, the younger brother of Frankenstein, then Henry Clerval, the best friend of Frankenstein, and lastly, the tragic murder against Elizabeth Lavenza, his wife. So, in my opinion, it's so fascinating because we have like this so at first kind-hearted monster, this being created by Victor Frankenstein, which is trying to be good, which is really showing in the part we read that it is trying to be as good as it can, but just being confronted with all the bads in society and then becoming bad itself and then murdering the close ones that are close to his own creator, like kind of father figure. What do you think about this?
It's very complicated topic at all. We have to evaluate about complex things. Where to begin? Well, did he was that man, and I think he was created unconsciously by Victor Frankenstein. Is it right?
Yes, definitely. The monster was created, but he didn't, like you said, he didn't consent to it. We can like also put this to like the real life. When children are born, they also don't really consent to it, you know?
That's a very good point. You're right. They can't give consent. Neither that, nor newborn people. And also, was the monster, that so-called monster, and actually a monster of Victor Frankenstein, was he belong to our world and our Earth after his death?
This is a very, very good point because like the monster doesn't really look human, you know? The monster is like always portrayed as this like green skin, pale eyes, he doesn't even look like a human, and so he doesn't get treated as a human, and this crimes he committed, how can we make him the monster if he isn't even part of like us, of us humans? We can't, like, the things that he that was done to him, all the bad things he had experienced, all was only because he didn't fit in with us, with our society. This is also so fascinating that because of all the bad things he experienced, he became the bad itself. We now have to come to an end. Thank you very much for your contribution. Like, we definitely are
Fine.
on par with our opinions. It's like in the end just like a really tragic tale. So yeah, but thank you very much for your philosophical insights and for your opinion about the book. Thank you.
Don't mention it.
With that, we come to an end. I really hope you enjoyed my little podcast, and see you next time.